Vikrant Gupta is joining us on the phone line for more on this. Vikrant, finally some good news on Champions Trophy as sources tell us that hybrid model has been finalized for the tournament.
And we can call it the final chapter, even though the Pakistan Cricket Board has to consult their government and come back to the ICC. But I think they've got no other option. They had been adamant. I mean, they'd always been maintaining the fact that the Champions Trophy will only and only be held in Pakistan. They wanted India to travel to Pakistan. They had said no to the hybrid. But honestly, even though it is going to be a hybrid Champions Trophy, I think they've got a little favor from the meeting as well. I mean, remember, they'd been coming to India for the ICC tournament, and if the ICC has agreed to one of their suggestions, which is that whenever an ICC tournament happens in India in the next 3 years, it will be a similar arrangement for them. Luckily, the World T20 in 2026 is to be organized by India, and Sri Lanka are the co-hosts, which means that the entire Pakistan games will then be played in Sri Lanka, plus their semi-final, if they reach the semi-finals, and the final as well. So the Pakistan Cricket Board can take this back to their government and say, listen, we are equals now. If India has insisted on a Champions Trophy being played on a hybrid model, so will the next World T20 be. Even though, like you said, no compensation, no revenue increase, no tri-series, and no to a lot many suggestions as well. But fortunately for the ICC, I think they were able to salvage something out of this. And the India-Pakistan game, remember, will also be played in Dubai now, not in Pakistan.
Right, Vikrant, also, like you pointed out, there will be similar arrangements for all the India-Pakistan games in ICC events till 2027. How do you look at this?
It has come unexpected for me, Chetna. I had imagined that India would not succumb to this. I knew for a fact that they may agree on one condition, which is that the Pakistan Cricket Board could give in writing that whenever there was an ICC tournament in India, they would go back to their government and seek their advice, which was okay. But the very fact that the ICC has asked the BCCI to agree to this model right now, I think I would say that maybe 20% of the game has also gone Pakistan's way. Yes, we are talking about 3 years. Yes, there's just one ICC men's tournament in these 3 years, which will be played in India, like I said. But again, Pakistan can go back home and say, listen, we forced India to go the same formula for us.
Right, Vikrant, there's no compensation or additional revenue for Pakistan, and even the tri-series demand has been denied. So what can you tell us about that?
I think the tri-series demand was not very genuine, to be very honest. It was naive of the Pakistan Cricket Board. I think they were acting smart. Why would the Indians ever play a tri-series with Pakistan and one more team? Why would the Indians insist on playing Pakistan other than the ICC tournament or the Asia Cup? So that was never on the table, never on the cards. No additional competition, like you said. They said they'd build stadiums just for the Champions Trophy, and the very fact that a few games will be held outside of Pakistan, especially the India games, they should be compensated. The ICC said no to that. The one thing that they were trying to milk from this entire situation was, listen, for the ICC tournaments, if the India-Pakistan game is as important as the ICC is making out to be, and if revenue comes for this game, our share of the revenue should also go up. Remember, they are number 4 on the ICC list. India obviously is way too ahead of England and Australia, followed by Pakistan. But again, that was shot down by the ICC board members, because if Pakistan's revenue was to be increased, remember, they had to then cut somebody else's revenue, which nobody was willing to.
That's right. Vikrant, PCB has to come back with an answer by December 7th. Do you think we'll see the end of this whole Champions Trophy row?
I think, again, do you see the glass half full or do you see the glass half empty? Pakistan government and the Pakistan Cricket Board had said, "Sar kat jayega, but jhukega nahi." Remember, they said, "We'll take injury, we won't take insult." Now, see, if they linger on with this process, then the ICC may actually be forced to take the Champions Trophy away from them, because it's a workable formula. It's not a win-win formula, but it's a workable formula where they can tell their government, like I said, listen, we forced India to also, co-host us somewhere else. So if the Pakistan government still remains adamant, rigid, then it's their loss. Then I think the ICC will be forced to take the Champions Trophy rights away from them. I don't think the Pakistan Cricket Board or the Pakistan government will be stupid enough now to turn this formula down or to turn this proposal down.
Right. I mean, with less than 3 months left for the tournament, there's still no schedule that's been announced. So, again, do you think the schedule could be announced on the 7th itself?
It has to be. It could even be tomorrow. But I'm expecting, since the ICC is called for a board meeting on the 7th to work out the final modalities, to release the schedule, I think it's going to happen Saturday, max Sunday.
Nikhil Naz also joining us on the broadcast for more on this. Nikhil, good news on Champions Trophy. Sources tell us that hybrid model has been finalized for the tournament. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, Chetna, I mean, this was coming. In fact, this is something that we'd been reporting for a good 1 week or so, that Pakistan has agreed to a hybrid model. In fact, this is a step that they took a few days ago when the ICC meeting happened with all the stakeholders last week, whereby the first time Pakistan, after at least a few weeks of posturing, where they were saying that no matter what, we're not going to be accepting a hybrid model. About a week ago, they conceded that they will be okay with a hybrid model. The only thing that they asked and put on the table at that time was that what's going to happen during the time that India are going to be hosting a lot of important tournaments in the next decade or so. What happens to those tournaments? And they wanted it in writing, that write it and tell us that, okay, for those tournaments that are going to be hosted in India, then we as a Pakistan team can then take a decision to also ask for a hybrid model. If your team is not safe coming to Pakistan, then we also wouldn't want to send our team to participate in the forthcoming ICC tournaments in the next few years. For which the BCCI had said that, okay, if this is your demand, we'll let you know. I think what they've now reached on is a win-win situation for India and for the BCCI. And I'll break it down as to why I say that. Firstly, from that position of asking for no hybrid at all, the Pakistan Cricket Board and Pakistan has agreed to a hybrid model, very well knowing that without India, the tournament wasn't possible. So they had to take a couple of steps back. So that's the first step that Pakistan Cricket Board took, as to accept the hybrid model, allow India to play their matches in the UAE. As for Pakistan's demand, all other demands, as tri-series and so on and so forth, is something that has already been mentioned, where BCCI did not agree with. The only other demand that BCCI has kind of agreed to is that, okay, for the next 3 years, interestingly, remember, they were asking for the next 7 years because there were plenty more important tournaments coming. That also is something that the BCCI hasn't agreed for, next 7 years. They've said, okay, for the next 3 years, we will then allow you to have a hybrid model for Pakistan. This too, I believe, has not been given in writing as such. And this is a verbal agreement of sorts. After Pakistan Cricket Board comes back and says they're okay with it, probably then they might have something of a written agreement. But as of now, there's no written agreement. But even if there is to be a written agreement, even that remains win-win for the BCCI. Why? Because, and I think that that's a really smart move, that they've agreed for the next 3 years. Now, what is coming in the next 3 years? One is the Women's World Cup, for which the stakes aren't as high as a India-Pakistan game in a World Cup of men's game. That's one. So they've kind of conceded on that, saying, okay, we'll allow the Pakistan women's team to be playing outside of India. That's the one consideration they've made. And then the next big tournament, that's the T20 World Cup in 2026. That will also come in the next 3 years. But interestingly, in that World Cup, Sri Lanka are anyway the co-host. So, anyway, matches were to be divided between India and Sri Lanka, to which it was very easy for a BCCI to accept it and say, fine, Pakistan can play their matches in Sri Lanka. So if you look at that entire scenario in terms of give and take, there has been massive, back steps taken by the Pakistan Cricket Board, so as to ensure that the Champions Trophy continues, so as to ensure that they don't suffer a massive loss of close to 70 to 75 million. Whereas from the BCCI, I think they've just given a couple of straws or two, and that's about it. And that's the only adjustment it's made. It probably works in PCB's favor as well, because at least they will have some sort of face saving when they go back to their country. They can say that, listen, we asked for something and we've got something, even though that bargain remains negligible, marginal, but at least they'll have a leg to stand on when they go back and they have to, narrate this to their media as well as the cricket fans there. So that's the only sort of a little ray of hope that they've been offered. But overall, if you look at this deal, if I was sitting as a neutral looking at this deal, I'm going to say that India has got the majority of things going their way.